Welcome to the Coach Speak podcast, built for coaches, by coaches, hosted by Jamie Bolton and Dustin Martin. Sponsored by Ray Crowther, providing the nation's best athletic training equipment since 1932. And R4 Football Systems. Accelerate everything by decoding the game.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Speak. Dustin Martin here with Jamie Bolton. Got a special guest tonight. Jamie's going to tell you what we're getting into before we get started. Want to shout out with our sponsors, Team Builder, Tsunami Bar Sports, and Pro Quick Draw.
Hey guys, today on Coach Speak, we are diving deep with one of the most experienced offensive minds in football, a coach who's led at every level, from high school rooms in New Jersey to Texas, college staffs, and even at the top of the high school football world at IMG Academy, where his ascenders were national champions and produced multiple first-round NFL picks. Bobby Acosta, offense coordinator at Tom Beam High School in Texas. He's a prolific developer of quarterbacks, explosive offenses, and one of the game's sharpest teachers of spread football. He joins us today to talk philosophy, leadership, and building winners on and off the field. Coach Acosta, welcome to Coach Speak.
Well, wow, what an intro, but thank you for having me on. I'm honored.
I've been practicing that one, man. Nah, that's what we appreciate you being on. So yeah, man, like in your time in IMG, like what was the hardest lesson that you learned about leading elite talent?
Well, the biggest thing, I just didn't lead elite talent. If you saw my coaching staff, Pepper Johnson, Chris Dishman, I was a Division III player and I had to lead elite alpha males. And if I would have used my approach that I used when I was a head coach my first year, I think I would have failed. So my thing was I really preached the brotherhood. I really preached family. And someone asked me, like, how do you really dial into these kids the way you did? So my biggest thing was faith, family, and it was during COVID, so football. So we use those basics things that, that everyone could do every day to really build our program. And we won at a level that I incorporated the academic component. We won at a level that I don't know if people are going to win at that level again. We had kids graduate with high academics. We had kids lead Bible studies. And then we have kids performing at the highest levels now.
So it's not just on the field. You're talking about you're winning in all aspects of the student athlete. I think that's amazing. Yeah.
And what I tell our kids, you can't practice failing. You fail at tests, you fail on the football field. You got to start practicing winning. And sometimes you got to show the kids how to win.
And that's such an important part. I think when you're working with kids, especially at the high school level, it's like, you can't take for granted. You have to teach them how to do everything. It's not just, you got to teach them, everybody talks about adversity when things go wrong, but we also got to teach them what happens when things go right. Like we don't change who we are. We don't change what we believe in. So like when those successes come, we have to know how to handle them. That's so great, Coach. What do you think if you were sitting here and just kind of thinking, what is a truth about coaching that you don't think anybody talks about?
I think, and this is, I had this talk, everything that we're bringing up, that you spend more time with other people's kids than you spend with your own kids. And this is the reason why I made this move to Texas, because my son he's a freshman in high school. He wanted to be with his dad. And I think if I would have still been coaching at IMG or my college ventures, I think it would have been very difficult. And right now, I'm having a blast that I'm with my son every single day at a reasonable hour. And so I think the biggest thing is, we get ripped as coaches. He's the worst coach. He makes bad calls. But I don't think people understand the amount of time that we spent with their kids. And, for me, I build a 5-star character young man. We respect our kids. We meet them halfway. We don't use profanity. We don't demean our kids. We're going to coach them hard and teach them the lessons that they need on and off the football field. But, one more thing. I remember I had a job, a young head coach, where I used to say coaching is teaching and teaching is coaching. And my athletic director said, no, you have to separate that. That's two different worlds. And I never did, because I really think we teach a lot through the game.
Absolutely. And I love that the holistic approach to that, because it is more than that. And I think when you approach, let's say, your players that way, I think it gives the people around you, maybe the fans or the parents, it gives you a little bit more. They maybe give you more grace, even when that play call doesn't go well, because they know how much you're pouring into the kid, because they probably see a lot of themselves in you as a parent
Yeah.
or someone with loved ones at home that you're sacrificing your time away from. I know a lot of coaches go through that. We were sacrificing time tonight. We had a parent meeting. It's February, and we got coaches there, until 9 o'clock at night tonight, and that far out of the season, that's how important that is. Football is to that town, and those parents were there too. And I think we do sacrifice a lot, and we get judged on those, 3rd and 8 calls, or we get judged on, the scoreboard. It's just maybe unfair. I mean, I know it's what we signed up for, but I think it is
Sure.
important for people to understand that.
Yeah, Coach, I got a quick question real quick, just kind of popped in my mind. So I think Jamie, you and I have something in common. We have all three been head coaches, and then we left being a head coach and took a step back being to a coordinator. What do you think, as a former head coach, in that lens, helps you be a better coordinator now that you have been a head coach previously?
Great question.
Well, I love it. I don't have to. I can focus on the young people that we have in our room and developing our coaches. And my head coach is a first-year head coach, and his dad is very successful, Coach McBride, very successful Texas high school football coach. So there's a lot of respect there. And he allows me to be the head coach of the offense. And I think the biggest thing, being a head coach, you learn to be a great assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, I'm serving my head coach. If he wants to run power, we're going to find a way to run power. And I think where I am in my life right now, I could understand that I'm not the man in the headlines anymore. I'm the person, supporting my head coach and his vision. And I think, I became a very good assistant coach because of it.
Yeah, you know how important it is to have those guys that have your back. It's like when you're trying to hire, I think I always think about, like, I want to support the head coach in a way that, one, I'm actually helping him, but one, he can be proud of the hire. Like, I hired this guy to help me, and then be able to support him on the back end. I love the fact that you're open to, you know, kind of using your head coaches, or I guess building into that vision. Like, if he wants to run power or do this or that, and you're experienced enough to do that. That's great. He's probably got a great resource in you. I'm sure he's really glad to have you on staff for sure.
Yeah, it was a very fun year. It was a very fun year.
I
We
bet so.
broke-
I know, Coach. Me and Jamie, we actually worked on the same staff this past season and ended up both being coordinators. And we would talk several times on how can we help the head coach achieve his vision. Like, there were just several times that, even like out of the school building, we're calling each other, "Hey man, what can you do offensively, or what can I do defensively to make sure that we are trying to achieve?" And I think the head coach appreciated that, and
Yeah.
I think it's a big thing to be a head coach and not have an ego and say, "You know what, I have multiple guys on staff who've been at the level I'm at. Let me offload and let these guys
Yep.
roll." Like you said, the head coach of the offense. And I think, to agree with what you said, it's just now you don't have all these blinders of the other things that separate you from being a head coach. And it's, hey, I can achieve all these things he needs out of me, but also make it even more about the kids. I love that answer.
Well, let me just add to that real quick. So I was at St. John Vianney in New Jersey, where we had a great season. We went 9-3 deep into the playoffs from New Jersey, but I hired 4 former head coaches, and one of them had 5 state championships.
Wow.
So my year that year was easy because I knew that, you have the leadership, you have the knowledge, you have the passion that you need to be successful.
Yeah, and I think just in those conversations in the coach's office, like, you don't have a lot of experience, but you can lean on that experience from everyone else. It's like, because everybody's got their own road, even, guys with a lot of experience here, not a lot of experience, the experiences are different. But I think when you're collectively kind of in a room, hey, something comes up, you can kind of ask around, have you seen this happen before? How did you approach it? And then it could be, I approached it this way and it didn't work out well, or it did work out well. I think that's just bigger than just X's and O's of just like kind of navigating and managing your program. I mean, all that stuff is huge, and you have that perspective, I think, is critical, because not every coach has that perspective.
So, Coach, you were at the college level, and then you kind of made the move to be the head coach at IMG. What kind of inspired that decision, and what kind of led you there?
Wow, that's just deep now. So I was at Bucknell University, and there was a head coaching transition. I went through the process. I interviewed for the head coaching job. It was a good experience, but I didn't get the job. So my buddy called me up. He was at the College of St. Scholastica in Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota, running spread offense. It was unique.
That's awesome.
So he said, come out for a year, help me build this program. He's a first-year head coach. And I did it. We were very successful. We broke every school record. We went deep in the playoffs in Division III football. And then my buddy called me, Noah Mazzoni, and said, hey, IMG is looking for an offensive head football coach. Are you interested? And I said, no, I don't want to go back to high school. And he called me about 2 or 3 times and flew me down. And I'm like, this is not a high school.
Yeah, that's right.
And I got the job on January 30th on my birthday. And that's a special day
Wow.
for me. My dad passed away on our birthday, January 30th. I'm a twin brother. And he passed away in Florida.
Wow.
So it was I said no to the job first because I just felt his spirit there. I just didn't want it. And then I took the job, embraced what I was feeling, and every game was up to honor my dad.
Mm.
And I think every game I teared up. But we were very successful that year. And we went down to play Duncanville in Texas. And JJ McCarthy comes up to me and says, Coach, they know our plays. I said, JJ, what do you want to do? He's like, let me call it. Everyone on my staff said, no, George Hageman and Chris Dishman. And no, JJ, we're losing. JJ was 95% efficient. We won the game and we kind of blew out Duncanville. And we came up with the call JJ 99 after that. But that game,
That's awesome.
yeah, but that game is when I wanted to coach high school football in Texas. You saw the spirit of high school football in Texas. And it was awesome. So, the IMG thing was great. It's a different business. I had difficulties with attracting other players from other states. I think Texas has the greatest high school football programming in the world. And I'm having a blast right now.
That's awesome, man. Now I think that's crazy because you really kind of coached every level, and like talk about how that shifted into like you're now at Tom Beam. Like how did your experience really shape your vision for the offense?
Yeah, we're small. We're 2A football program. Our quarterback threw for 4,000 yards. We had 2 receivers with over 1,000 yards. People ask me, why are you going to Tom Beam, 2A football program where they struggled in the past? And I said, every player deserves a championship winning football coach. And, I came here, I said, guys, we're going to win the state championship. And people doubted our offensive line. They doubted my ability to put tempo offense because our kids play both ways. And, we really inspired the entire community of Tom Bean. We put Tom Bean on the map because High School Football American was following us all year. And I was getting letters from all over the country on what we were doing at Tom Bean. Wow. And now, I walk into school and people are saying, Coach, we hear that you're leaving. I said, leaving for what? And I said, this is home. I don't have any desires to be a head football coach. I don't have any desires to going back to college. I found a place where I can unleash everything I've learned in 25 years into our kids. Why would you leave?
Right. Now, did you, now we had Noah Mazzoni on the podcast several months ago. He is fantastic, man. What a great guest. He's just, how he is. He's fiery and just old school. Are you all similar philosophy in terms of like pass game?
It's exactly the same system.
That's awesome.
I was Noah Mazzoni's intern for the New York Jets.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So, after that experience, I followed him and his coaching. I attended all his clinics, and we developed a system called the end zone system. So we did it together. And, we implement our offense all over the country. We have people that follow us. And I remember Noel called me up because he was coaching high school football last year. He said, "Hey, coach, I need some plays." So I'm walking to the press box before a game. I gave him our plays and it worked. So,
Awesome. That sounds
he's my
like him.
mentor. He's my
Yeah.
mentor. We're great friends. I don't think we talk a lot about football anymore. We're talking about life now. That's where we are. He's coaching UFL now with the Dallas Renegades. He's right down the road, so I'm gonna go see him.
That's awesome.
Man, that is awesome. I didn't even know that, Coach. Small world. That's crazy. Yeah, we had him on. He talked about the end zone offense a little bit. That's awesome. Coach, we've had a couple coaches on here that have coached college and high school, but I haven't asked them this question, and it kind of just popped in my head. With you being at the college level and now at the high school level, is there a difference in the way you can impact the players? Like, is it more impactful at the high school level? Is it the same? Like, or do you think college is more like that business mentality? You still have relationships with them, but you're not actually impacting them as much as high school. Talk about that a little bit, your belief in that.
Well, now it's different. The college game is business. But when I was coming up through the college world, I was a head coach at Widener University, Division III. I was a Division III coach for a very long time. So I learned how to cut tape. I learned how to take out garbage, rake the field. I use the same. I'm a teacher. I went to school to teach. I'm a whole part teaching method. You break it into pieces, you put it back together, you break it back into pieces, you put it back together at the end. So the way I coach at Syracuse is the exact same way I coach here. The way I coach at IMG, my quarterback, I used to say, you got to be like JJ McCarthy. That's the expectation to play the position for our offense. 4,000 yards. JJ didn't even throw for 4,000, So there's another place I was at Del Valle in Texas where someone said, you can't treat these kids like IMG kids. Why not? The expectation. So now if they fall short, at least they're closer to where we need to be. So I adapt. Like the 1 year at St. John Vianney, had a 3,000 yard rusher. This year I had a 4,000 yard passer. So I'm smart enough that you have to adapt to your skill level, but the teaching method stays the same. And at the end of the day, when Tyler Booker, when JJ, when Donnie Hooten says, "Coach, I love you," you got it. Because now they'll run through walls for you. And that's the secret sauce.
Right.
It's not the plays. It's not end zone. It's can you get the players to play hard for his teammates and for you?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that balance of, your philosophy, your adaptation, do you think that, how do you balance maybe innovation with what you know to be true in the fundamentals of your system?
Yeah, I think I don't watch football. I didn't watch one college football game. I didn't watch the Super Bowl because I start watching and I'm like, oh, I like that play. I like that play. The system is 26 core plays. So we believe that's the book that we're going to believe in. But the fundamentals is where we win the tough games. So we're going to talk about ball security for 10 periods in practice. We're going to catch 100 balls. We're going to work on that first step on zone drive 50 times. So if you watch our practice, it's the same exact plays every single day, but the fundamentals is elite. So we're teaching our football players to go to college and start because fundamentally they got technique.
It seems like, when you do more innovation, you definitely lack some fundamentals if that's not your main focus. Like if it's like something outside the wheelhouse. Are there things over the course of your career that you believe in more now than you did before from like a concept standpoint?
Well, it's the innovation part of it. You see the Division I levels, they're hiring young coordinators because they want to run this air raid stuff. But you can also see that the fundamentals aren't as good. the other parts of character development, leadership, it's not there yet. Because I think I became a better football coach when I had my kids,
Mm-hmm.
because you learn how to be a parent. You're a parent to 50 plus kids in your room. So if you're too young and you don't understand how to parent, you're missing something. I really think not everyone's going to have kids, but I think you have to have experience in leading kids and getting them to the point where this is where they are today. Tomorrow they need to be there. So the innovation definitely is hurting the game. If you watch quarterback fundamentals now, RPO is changed the game. Where they're throwing the ball now is a lot different from where Dan Marino threw the football.
No doubt.
So
No doubt.
yeah, but the yardage, you can't argue with 4,000 yards passing. And my quarterback was 81% efficient.
Wow.
81, throwing 4,000 yards. But the biggest thing to answer your question is, I went to 26 to 32 plays, and we mastered those plays. We had answers. And I think as soon as I changed to that philosophy, and ultimately, is Beaumont touching the ball more than 10 times a game, our best receiver. If he's only touching 5, I'm finding ways to get him the football. And that's why he had about 1,300 yards receiving.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, and as y'all are sitting there kind of talking about innovation, on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, Coach Dave Easton, shout out to him. He's a listener, and he just kind of asked, like, defensive guys, what do y'all believe in? Do y'all believe in being multiple or being simple? And I kind of was just thinking, and my response to him was, listen, you can be both if the package is built correctly, because we break everything down with alignment, assignment, and technique. And the way that I look at it is the most important one at the end of the day is the technique portion. Are we executing the technique to execute the scheme where the other two kind of fall in? And I think kind of similar to what you're saying, Coach, you have that menu of 26 plays and you can pick and pull, but execution can't lack. It still has to be there. And that's kind of what I was thinking defensively is, we could have 5 assignments on defense, but maybe we have 10 alignments. But at any point in time, if we change the alignment or assignments, if it's putting our technique at jeopardy, we need to pull back. And I think that's kind of what you're saying from an offense standpoint. Like, you didn't have the success you did by watching all the new bells and whistles. It's what do we have in our menu? How can I innovate based on who the players are? And I think that's such wise coaching.
And I think so too. Just thinking about innovation, it's like if you know your system so well, your 28 to 32 plays or 26 to 30 plays, you start to think about, okay, teams are starting to do this against us to take it away. Here's an answer that I came up with to help alleviate that. And then you start to draw on that, and that maybe make its way into the package, like moving forward. If you start seeing teams kind of play that way, we've certainly done that. I'm very reluctant to take a play that I see on Twitter. Because one, I don't know if that was a busted play or not. I guarantee you there's some on there that, like, these guys didn't do what they were supposed to do, and it just turned out it looked sick, like they dialed it up. There's probably some on there that don't necessarily they didn't draw it up that way. But interesting. So talk through like some of your core principles in your offense. So you guys throw for 4,000, you've rushed for 3,000 years. So talk about that. Like, what do you install, like, concept wise, like year in, year out? Like, talk a little bit about those 26 that you'll always carry and that you've always been successful with, both run and pass.
Well, we got 3 core installs. Install 1 is your bread and butter. When things are going wrong, you go back to install 1. So within install 1, you have your inside zone, you have your key screens or bubble screens. You have a big pass screen, screen play action, whatever you want to call it. I'm huge with screening the football. I think the biggest thing is trying to make everything look the same and running inside zone and split zone, and then having our nakeds, our play actions built off it. Install 2 is more of a pin pull day. So you see a lot of people are going to play with the 4 eyes and they're going to try to stop inside zone. We're going to run pin pull. That's the first day, I forget to tell you, but it's more of our snag pass game.
Okay.
I'm a big snag game. The second day is more mesh. It's more pin pull. We're running tunnel screen rather than slip screen. And we're using the base way of running the play, and we're going to one word it. So if I say doubles right, 51 chevron, the default way that we run that play is 2x2. The protection is 51. So I can give one word and the kids know the play. I give one signal. All right. I can give snag and the kids know what to do. So within install 1, 2, and 3, that's what we do. So the second install is a pull day. We may add power. And the third day is stretch. And we run 3 run schemes. We run 4 to 6 pass schemes. I don't throw the ball on all verts. I'm not a big believer. I'm going to push the ball. If it's 3rd down and 15, I'm going to run RPO. Because my philosophy is our linemen are always outmatched. If you're going to tell him to drop back and run pass pro, you're going to get sacked. All right. So if you run RPO, now the defensive line, they're going to run fit. They're not going to pass rush. And now if they go too high, hand off the ball, you add to the punts that if you need to, or he gets a first down. Back in the day, 3rd down and 15, I'll throw a vertical. Get sacked, field position changes. I've learned to surrender plays. 3rd down and 15, you're on the minus 35. Surrender. Throw something short. He breaks it. First down. He doesn't. You just add it to the punt. Now you punt the football. You play field position. So you're trying to get the ball back on the 40 or the 35-yard line going in. And that's where you can become very aggressive. So within the play menu, 3 installs. So the first round is base way. The second time you're running it is against pressure. The third time you run it is against situational football. So they're getting 15 practices of the same install to every situation. And now you go into week 1, you just run it.
Coach Speak listeners, if you're serious about building strong, explosive, durable athletes, then you need to know about Sinai Bar Sports. Sinai Bars are changing the way football programs train. Their patented fluid field technology creates constant instability, which means every rep builds real-world strength, balance, and control. We're talking about better core engagement, better joint stability, better force transfer, and fewer breakdowns on the field. This isn't just lifting heavy. This is training smart. Whether you're developing linemen, quarterbacks, skill guys, or your entire roster, Sinai Bar helps your athletes move better, absorb contact, and produce power safely. Programs across the country are using Sinai Bars to gain a competitive edge, and once you put them in your weight room, you'll see why. Go to SinaiBarSports.com, check out their full lineup, and start training like champions. Sinai Bar Sports, built for football, built for performance.
Yeah, I like that framework because I think anybody could take their system on either side of the ball and fit it to that framework. And I think, as I hear you talk, Coach, obviously you've been coaching a while, but like that's just experience, man. 3rd and 15, man, we're not dropping back and throwing 4 verts because guess what? That was a sack. Now it's 4th and 22. If our snapper's a little shaky, that thing could go in the end zone. And not to mention now we're going to punt it and our defense is going to go out there and they're probably going to be midfield. It's like understanding. I'm with you on that. That's awesome.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever called one single RPO on 3rd and 15. I did call pin and pull on 3rd and 28 against Lancaster in 2018. We got it.
And then he called it the next play and scored.
We scored. Yeah.
And that's the nature.
Same play.
So,
It's like, what are we doing? Well, guys, we don't have a 3rd and 28 call, guys.
I never screen on 3rd down.
They're always going to retrace.
It's going to be early downs.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm more of I analyze the risk.
Yeah, I like it.
And I can really, so I grade every play.
Sure.
So right now, I would say chevron, I can complete that 90% of the time. Our inside zone with the hitches and the gift, we are great at that play. So if I would give that play A+, critical situations, I'm going to run my A+ plays.
Mm-hmm. What do you consider efficient for you, Coach? Like when you're looking at a run or a pass?
Yeah. So first down, I need half first down.
Okay.
All right. So 2nd down and 5, I need 2.5. 3rd down and short, you got to convert. So 1st down and 10, we jump off sides. I'm chasing that 5 yards again with one of my great plays. 1st down and 10, this is how I script practice. 1st down and 10, 2nd and 8, 3rd and 5. So I'm going to really plug those plays in that I'm going to run. Then I go another set. 1st down and 10, 2nd down and 6, 3rd down and 2. 3rd down and 2, I'm going to run a play I'm not going to get fancy. Then I go 1st down and 10, incomplete. Second down and 10, 0 yardage. Third down and 10, what do you do? Then I go first down and 10, second down and 15, third down and 20. So I script those plays. Now I exactly know what plays I'm going to call in those situations.
Sure. And I think it's important, the more I listen, to you talk, Coach, it's like sometimes being a coordinator isn't about calling the great plays. It's about getting us through the times where you could call really bad plays. I think that's a big part of, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, it's one thing, and me and Jamie laugh about it all the time. It's like, hey, man, on 3rd and 15, you can blitz on defense, miss it, they get the first down. It's like, oh, he was there, you got to make the play. Well, no one's going to say that if a tackle gets a beat on for a sack. It's like, man, that's a terrible play call. Like it's like it's a little bit more pressure on the offensive side. So I like that. And thinking about you saying 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, run an RPO, it kind of is getting me thinking a little bit on defense. Like our calls, how could that hurt it? You know what I mean? It's like I got to think on that one. That's
probably
I like that
definitely could hurt you, especially if you're a pressure guy.
Yeah, pressure or sim or exotic front or something like that.
Because you're likely not going to play man to man, so your RPO is going to have a chance.
Yeah, you're going to. I
love it. No, I'm stealing that, Coach Acosta.
Well, let me make you feel better too.
Yeah.
So I draw up on my menu that I have to take. This year we got up to 9 shots. I have to call the shots. Second down and 2, second down and 3. I'm calling it. It may not hit home, but you just threaten that defense.
Yes.
So it's more off our, lock. We call it bubble and go because we're not throwing all verts. So it's not shots for me. We're throwing pump, chevron, or snag. He has fake the snag and go. So we're throwing it off our base concept, and you just check them off, and now you hit 5 of them, you win the football game.
Exactly. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. Or you get a pass interference, or you get something that you can set them up. I love doing that on first or par downs too. Like if you're really, really like for a big quick game team on early downs, because we can't run the ball very well. Well, now you can set up your shot on those early downs because they're going to be jumping those short routes. I've definitely learned that lesson early on too. Like don't just sit there and pepper your quick game. You take a couple shots. Even if you don't hit them, that quick game is going to be right back in there.
There's another philosophy I use that first down is 0 down. Doesn't count. So first down, you take your shot. Second down becomes first down and 10 for me. So I'm looking for 5 yards. And my head coach would let me go 4 and 4 downs all day. So there's some games I'm like, all right, that first play means nothing. I'm going to be aggressive. But that second down play becomes my first down play.
I love that. And I think if you're good at running the football, I love that philosophy because now you can rely on a run or an RPO, and you're going to probably be sitting there in 3rd and medium or at worst, and maybe 3rd and short at best. Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. So you're no huddle. Are you like super fast no huddle, or are you check with me? Do you have multiple tempos? Talk about that.
Well, again, our kids had to play 2 ways. So we played fast enough that it made them uncomfortable.
Okay, yeah.
But we were smart enough that our offensive line needed to play D-line because those are the guys you got to protect.
Yeah.
So we were averaging about 65 to 70 plays a game at the high school level.
Wow.
And that's a lot. And we still won the time of possession.
Yeah.
So, moving forward, I want to be a little more multiple. I even want to go under center for critical situations. So I think tempo is not, lighting up and go fast. Tempo is ultimately how well can you execute that play? Because if you get 5-yard plays, you keep on moving those chains. That's how you play fast. If you throw all verts, first down, second down, incomplete, third down, incomplete, you're not going to play fast.
Jogging back 30 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest part about going fast. Things you got to consider. Are we going to tire our players out? And if I think when it comes down to tempo, like you said, you got to be even better at execution because if you try to go fast and you can't execute, next thing you know, 16 seconds has burned off the clock and your defense is right back out.
Get them stopped, defensive guy. Get them stopped. Stop blaming the offensive guy. Like, hey, man, you gave us bad field position. Look, don't let them be the first down.
I think we saw one team that actually vitalized going fast this year, and they were it's inside zone, Q counter, quick screen, shot. Like that was their top 3 like play families, and it was like they were really good.
Quarterback scramble around a lot.
Yeah, they were really good at that executing that. So that's a big part of that.
No, I agree. So let's switch gears a little bit, Coach. Let's go into like recruiting and developing a little bit. Specifically about developing the quarterback. What's your process for mentoring a young quarterback that may not be super experienced, might be timid or inconsistent? Talk about your development of him.
Yeah, I was, I've developed quarterbacks. It's even with JJ, he wasn't it was the question marks were out for him. He played in Chicago. The level of football part wasn't great there. But my biggest thing with quarterbacks is you got to spend a lot of time with them outside of football, in the meeting room, talking about life, getting them to trust you. Because ultimately, this is my experience. I was a young offensive coordinator at the College of New Jersey, and the quarterback, I was tough back then. I was always yelling, and the quarterback says, "Coach, I hear you. I hear your voice always, and it distracts me, and I panic." That's the last time I yelled at a quarterback. So for me, if you see our quarterbacks, they look like coaches on the football field. On a Thursday night when I'm going through the play calls, they're sitting down with me and going through every play in the order that we're going to call it. Even during the game, hey, Donnie, what do you think? Hey, coach, give me the JJ99 call, meaning call whatever you want. And so as soon as you get that trust and that respect and that connection with your quarterback, they're aligned with you. And now, first out of 10, you know that you call it one of your favorite plays. You already know what you're going to call on second down.
Yeah.
And, I spend a lot of time. JJ, we had to throw him out of the room. Zach Edwards at Minnesota had to throw him out of the office. Donnie Hooten here had to throw him out of the office. But my secret for quarterbacks, we have a lot of youth camps. I teach them through our fundamentals, and then I watch them teach it to the youth.
That's cool. Yeah.
And now you see our quarterbacks at the middle school, they idolize Donnie. They look at him and like, Donnie Hooten. He's a great looking kid, great athlete. And they want to be just like him. So I know this moving, forward, my quarterbacks are going to try to meet that standard of Donnie Hooten.
That's
And,
awesome.
and now fundamentally we don't do a lot of, bag drills, cone drills. We practice to our concepts.
Yes.
So we're going to throw the flat screen. We're going to throw it 10 times to the right, 10 times to the left. We're going to pull, run, and throw it. I'm practicing for our concepts. Our pass game and the snag game is a one piece. I'm practicing that one piece and going through the whole progression. Why cross? I'm practicing the quick out, quick game footwork. If it's not there, you're going to one piece. They ran the one piece so many times. Read the cross. If that's not there, step up, throw the post curl. Now they always know their trouble. Their trouble throw will be the flat route. And at the end of the day, I watch a lot of leadership talks with our players. I try to, mentor them through how I lead, and then I build that 5-star character. They can't miss class. They got to sit in front of the class. I think the quarterbacks I've coached, they're all prom kings and high academics.
Yeah.
And that's your quarterback. One year they say, Coach, you got a tight battle at quarterback. What are you going to do? I said, the quarterback that could teach the teacher is going to be my starter. The quarterback that I thought should be the starter went up and could not teach the teacher.
Wow.
The backup quarterback went up, taught the teacher, broke every single record the kid had the year before.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It makes
awesome.
sense. It
They
makes
really do.
sense.
So
Yep.
what's funny is, so, you talk about relationships and mentoring it. So, it was really cool this year to watch Jamie and his sophomore quarterback. He had two quarterbacks. The senior ended up getting hurt, so the sophomore kind of took it over. But just the watching the relationship with him, and my favorite thing, he was that type of kid you're talking about. Like, he always wanted to talk football. Like, me and Jamie would eat pregame meal together, and he'd walk up and start talking about the plays, and I'd say, "Hey man, can I eat my pregame meal without you talking about football with Jamie?" Like, I would just mess with him. But
Yeah.
before every game, as the DC, I wanted him to know, listen, we got your back, dude. Don't be
Mhm.
scared to rip it. Let it
Yeah.
ride. Like,
Turn
if
it
you throw a
loose.
pick, it's fine. So I'd always say, hey man, trust your reads, trust your coaching, and have fun. But that
So
was
it's
that
funny.
little relationship that we had. But man, it was awesome.
It's funny, man. We had our offensive staff meeting today after we broke out of our staff meeting, and I always invite him to our offensive staff meeting. And he comes in there smiling and grinning. He's this big old like kid, and he comes in, and I do these modules where like I will record myself going over what we're going to go over the install before the coaches come in. That way they can have questions. And so I'm asking my question, like, all right, guys, is this route capped or uncapped? We use R4 stuff. Anyway, and I have to preface every question like this. Now, Jonah, don't you answer that. This is for the coaches. So, because he knows all the stuff in our offense, and it's just a blessing to have him for sure. And like you said, Coach, those guys are so fun to coach because you can just turn them loose. You can do the McCarthy 99, JJ 99, and it's like, dude, that's kind of probably what we're gonna have to go to this year because he's probably gonna know it better than I am.
Yeah.
But,
Coach, let's say, we kind of live in a world of turnover. So you got kids that are transferring, coaches that take new jobs. How do you think the best way to build that trust with maybe a kid that kind of feels abandoned, like his coach left him, he's a rising senior, a rising junior, and you come into a new program? What do you think are some ways to build that trust with these kids?
Yeah, I think, you got to show that you care. That's the number one thing. I think getting back into high school teaching and becoming their teacher and really, spending that time with them in the classroom, having lunch with them, outside of the classroom. And I do dive into the parents. Some people like stay away from the parents. Hey, I'm 50 years old. And I know the boundaries. So I really build a relationship with the parents that they respect the boundaries, but they become partners in the development of their kid. And I have, the one young man that I love that, if you would have told me if he would have went to college before the year, it'd probably be no. But I worked with his mom and dad, and the young man's going to college to play college football.
and that's awesome.
And that was a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Most people will be afraid of that. I embrace it. My quarterback's dad, he's a quarterback's dad. I love him. He's done so much for me, my son. And so I embraced him. And, it got to the point where coach, you raised my son.
Mm.
And, when Donnie Hooten meets with the coaches on Thursday, he buys all the coaches lunch. And then he teaches the game plan to our head coach.
That's
You
awesome.
win.
Man, that's
Wow.
it. You got it. I mean, I think parents are, you have to treat, and I had to learn this too as a head coach. Like, you have to have allies, and what better ally than a parent? Now, it doesn't mean you have to go back on your values or your standards or you have to give in. And there's a fine line between that because that's that boundary that could be kind of murky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you listen to a parent and they have a good idea and you do it, well, now you're listening to the parents. Well, it's just, you got to kind of navigate that. But I think having those strong boundaries, but I think for any coach listening, yeah, parents are the number one ally you can have. I had a parent come up to me at night and she said, "Are you a strength coach?" And I said, "Maybe. Are you mad or not?" And she's like, "No, let me know if my son is slacking off." And just that, because I talked to the parents tonight about our weight room and they see the passion that we have in that. But I think it's great to have allies as parents. And I know Dustin can attest to that too.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize for anyone listening and us three, it's like they're some of the most important stakeholders in your support They're the biggest ones in the support. And I think my first head coaching job at a private school, there were times that I was really good at that, and there were some times where I was like trying to be public school mentality, and sometimes it wasn't the greatest. And but I think one of the biggest allies that I had was there was a coach on staff who did a really great job. His son was actually a player, but he was very tight knit in the community with the parents. So it was more of, he was my voice. He was like, listen, like, let's trust this process. Like, I've heard it all. And I think you got to be careful with that. Like you said, you got to know your boundaries and your limits. But I think that was a way I tried to reach. And, early on in my coaching career, I probably would have been, black and white about this is when we're practicing, or we're not doing this on this holiday, or et cetera. But I think any chance you can try to win the parents with not giving up your values and your expectations and your standards, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? They're a stakeholder just like anyone else. So that was something I learned early on as a coach.
Well, it goes back to winning. You're talking about winning in the locker room. They go home and talk about winning with their parents. The parents are not talking about, why aren't you playing? You're better than that kid. No, we're winning, mom and dad. I feel good about our coaches. I feel good about the game plan. We're winning. And I'm going to tell you this is through mistakes. I've learned this. And I was at a place where the parents took ownership of the program. And, sometimes you have to have that flat line and say, nope, if you don't like what we're doing, you may have to go somewhere else. This is what we're doing. But I think I want to showcase what we're doing to our families, because, as a dad, my son plays soccer, and I was that dad a couple of weeks ago. He didn't make the soccer team. And I called the coach and, hey, what's the deal? And I was like, whoa, Coach Acosta, and I had a great conversation with Coach, and I now understand what my son needs to do to get better to make the team next year. If the coach were to say, hey, I don't talk to you, I don't talk to parents, I'll be disgruntled. But the coach exactly showed me the roadmap that I needed for my son to be successful. Now I'm the biggest advocate for that coach.
And that's important, because in my philosophy, I'm always open door to talking about playing time. And I know that a lot of coaches don't do that. And that might not be for every program, but if you're, when I was a head coach, it was a small private school. And I did open it up for that. And I actually welcome those conversations, because I felt like our process was so tightened up that I could give clarity to that parent. One, allow them to speak to me and be heard, but then I can give them the feedback specifically to the point where they are probably going to be overly inundated with all this data that would support our view. And even if they didn't agree, they knew that we had a process, and we would have a lot of respect coming out of that conversation than just having this void of like, well, coach won't talk to me about playing time. So I will advocate for the kid coming to me first. But if it's a parent, or if it's a young kid, I mean, like a ninth grader is probably going to have a hard time talking to the head coach about not making the team. But if it's about playing time, I think you may get some more allies if you open it up for that.
And you're always going to you're not going to win everyone over. So I've learned to become a great listener. Sit down with them and just listen. You don't need to, just listen. And usually at the end of the conversation, everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, makes sense.
Coach, you ready to hit rapid fire?
I am.
Okay, I want to learn about rapid fire. Let's do this.
I mean, it's kind of been that way. I feel like we're throwing a bunch of questions at you, but you've been nailing them, man.
It's been great.
I appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah.
Jamie, I'm gonna get it kicked off.
All right, man.
All right, Coach, are you a call sheet guy? Do you go off a feel? Is it a little bit of both? Like, are you super strict about your openers, or just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I ran the same 26 plays all season, and then I complement those 26 plays, but I memorize my call sheet. And then it's based on feel.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I mean, I think if you're pretty dialed into your game plan and it's kind of working the way that you think it's going to work out, and they don't do something like crazy and go from they've been there a 4-down team and they come out in 3-3 stack, you probably get a chance to have a pretty good feel for it. There has been times where like, man, I'm looking at this call sheet way too much. This stuff ain't working.
If
But
in the third quarter you're still like this,
Yeah.
you're losing the football game.
you're losing. You're searching too hard. It ain't on
You're
that
searching,
sheet.
yeah.
It ain't on that sheet.
Well,
It's
I
probably on
knew.
that field getting worn out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I worked with a guy one time, and it was a rough year, it was a struggle. He was the OC, and I helped him any way I could, and like he would have like an 11 play opening script, and after about 3 series of going 3 and out, I said, "Hey man, we need to get off that script. That ain't working no more. Those first 9 plays were if we were getting first downs, coach. We got to figure something out." So
No doubt.
what a great story.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great.
Man. All right. So best high school stadium. And you're probably gonna say somewhere in Texas, probably, or environment you've ever coached in.
High school is, I didn't coach in it, but I went to the Duncanville football game against Allen, Texas. Probably had 10,000 people.
Good gracious.
We're smaller football, but our stadium's really neat here. But college football, I coached at Syracuse, and playing in Clemson was a neat
Death Valley.
experience.
That's here in South Carolina, guys. We're not
Yep.
Clemson fans, but
Yep.
we'll take the respect. We'll take
I,
the respect.
I went to the Clemson Carolina game, not this year, the previous year when they played at Clemson, and it was rowdy. It was a good time, and no, I agree with you, Coach.
I think the last time I've been at Death Valley was Taj Boyd. That whole that's a long time ago.
That
A
was
long time ago. Man. Yeah. All right, Coach, you're up.
All right, Coach, you have your menu. You have your 26 plays that you talk about. Not necessarily this past season, but what would you say in the most recent years? Which defense or things that you see defensively give you the most issues that you're trying to stay ahead of the game and trying to have variations and whatnot?
The 3-3 stack, it's a pain. They can stop inside zone, blitz whoever they want, and they take away the picket fence that you're trying to get, the high completion stuff. And ultimately, if they don't have to, blitz and hit home with 3 and play coverage, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think depending, if you're a spread team, 3-3 stack gives you some problems. And now everybody's doing the 3 high stuff out of 3-3 stack, and it's just a lot of unconventional. It's almost like playing an option team on defense. It's like you probably don't see it a lot. It's a different fit. It's just unconventional and or non-traditional maybe. But yeah, it's definitely becoming more prevalent. Especially, maybe just the 3 high safety stuff's becoming more prevalent in South Carolina. Is that the case in Texas too?
Mm-hmm.
Probably around the country.
And people, they're disguising it coverages too.
Mhm.
They're playing too high and going to the stack. You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Um,
If you can run the ball, 2 tight ends, that'd be that 3-3 stack, 3 high safety stuff all the time.
yeah.
But good stuff. All right, Coach. Can't say. I'll let you say it, but I hope you don't. Maybe it's somebody else. Player you wish you could coach again.
Player, I wish I could. I think. Let me think about that one real quick.
That's probably a hard one, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah. My time at Syracuse was really fun. This young man, Brisley Esteem, he was all 5'7", from Florida, wide receiver. Coach Scott Schaefer said to me, "You're coaching punt returners, and I need him to become all ACC this year." So I watch Coach Fleck, the Minnesota head football coach, teach punt catching and drills, and the young man was all ACC.
Wow.
So, he had 2 kids at the time. And, back then you couldn't buy things for the kids. And like now they have, Lamborghinis but he needed diapers and I got him diapers.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But, now I would love to coach him because, I'm watching him, how he coached his son, and it's similar to how I coached him. So he
That's
had a
really cool.
huge impact on me. That was my first Division I job as a receiver. And that room taught me how to be a receiver coach.
Man, well said. Well said. Well, Coach, this has been an incredible episode, man. We appreciate your time. Obviously, we didn't meet each other before coming on, and feel like we got to know you a lot in the last, 50-something minutes, man.
No
But
doubt.
now you have courses on CoachTube, correct?
CoachTube, yes.
And so talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Well, my best friend, Wade Floyd, he's the CEO. I met him probably about 10 years ago. I put courses up because I needed money. It's you're coaching football. Some jobs are not paying the money that it's paying. So I made a couple courses, and he pays coaches, you
Mm.
know, pretty much, you still own your course, but he promotes it. And I have a whole system of our offense on the system now. And we actually just did an RPO clinic last week with possibly the best RPO coaches in the country.
Awesome.
And so I'm about, people are like, why do you give your stuff out? If it made you successful, give it back.
Mm.
And so I have my entire life on CoachTube, and I'm very active on Twitter, always trying to share. And I'm not afraid to share. There's teams that call out our plays, right? You got to still stop it. But I'm very generous. I give a lot of courses out for free. So if you're interested, you shoot me a Twitter.
No, I'll be checking you out, man, for sure on CoachTube, man. And I think it's important to coaches that put content out. I'm one too. I have content out there. It is a lot of work, and it is a lot of your experiences. And I think coaches should want to pay for that. I really do, especially for the time, especially if it's game film and it's tightened up and it's polished and it's good production quality. I think coaches will pay for quality content, especially that can help them. And I think they should be willing to. I mean, I know there's a lot out there, but if I like it, I'm going to invest in it like my money. And so I'm going to definitely check your stuff out on CoachTube for sure, Coach.
And what goes deeper is we started OC school.
Okay, cool.
So every Sunday I met with about 10 high school coaches, and we talked about what worked, what didn't work. I gave a lot of advice, but I also took some plays that they used, and it worked for me.
Awesome.
And so, it's the relationships that, I'm talking to guys in Arizona, talking about my play sheet. So
that's cool.
You find out how big your brand is. And but it's a neat situation.
Yeah, that's why we love this, Coach. We get guys on like you all the way, out from Texas, who's been a couple different places, and just the networking piece. You just never know what may come of it. And I know that I took stuff away from what you had to say, and I'm sure there's going to be people who listen to this, and it's just funny that I'm only 31 years old. I've been coaching 11 years, but it's like every single episode, there's something I'm like, man, I gotta write that down.
Yeah,
I've
why
got
I hold
to,
this pencil in every
yeah,
episode.
I have to, because like the framework thing that you talked about earlier, like how you scaffold your play calls at practice and your installs, like, man, that's genius stuff. It's a different way of doing it than I've heard, and so we just truly appreciate you taking your time out and joining us today.
Well, it's a small world, and you had Dearman on, you had Chad Greer on. I'm Dearman, there's a relationship there with Noel. He was a quarterback when Noel played at Auburn, and he attended Noel's camp. And you can see our podcast, he respects Noel's work. And Dearman's very successful.
Yep.
And so there's a circle of life that I think the good ones, they get into that circle, and you just become successful.
Yeah.
And when you have those seasons that you're 2-8, there's still success in that, and there's opportunities to grow. And everyone sees the national championship. I have more losses than national championships, but the losses allows you to grow into where we are right now.
Yep. You got to take the trials and turn them into things that produce something better out of them. And I think having that perspective is hugely important for me, for Dustin, I'm sure, and then definitely our audience. Man, we really, really appreciate you pouring into our audience, and can't wait to get this one posted for all of our guys to see.
Yes.
Well, guys,
anything else you need from me, let me know. Yes.
We'll do. We'll definitely stay in touch, and hopefully we can see you in person, maybe at one of these clinics or something down the road.
Great. All right.
Awesome, guys. Well, guys, it's been great. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning into the Coach Speak podcast. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at coachspeakpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you have a question for our Q&A segment, don't forget to submit it through the form in the episode description. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.